All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 43, and I am your host, Supreme King, and I am joined here, as always, with my co-host, and his name is...
It's the guy Omazis.
Yes, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm actually just counting down the days until that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always feature comes out.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I forgot about that for a second. I was like, I thought you was about to mention a movie. I'm like, what movie?
Oh, no.
But yeah. I wish it was a whole season, but I guess it's just a special.
I'm hoping that it's not like 30 minutes. Like, I really want it to not just be
an hour.
Super fast.
I think it might be an hour. It would be kind of crazy if it was 20 minutes and most of the promotional stuff is what you pretty much see. It's just glued back together.
Oh, that's what I'm afraid about. I'm gonna be honest. So I needed to, at least be an hour.
Yeah. One thing I want to address to the people real quick. Some of y'all might be wondering, Supreme, where is your content? I can address that right now. I have been slacking a little bit. I do have some videos ready to go. There is one that should go out Monday or Tuesday, but I know I haven't really put out regular content in almost a month. It's just, I've been doing other stuff. I have been messing around with this little device called the Miyoo Mini Plus. Some of y'all may have heard of it. I'm going to talk about that towards the end of this. And I'm going to be honest, like the stuff I was doing with that is a big reason why I wasn't really doing a lot of content. That and just sitting back watching Twitch while I just do nothing. There's a lot of that. But I am about to get back on the ball and get the ball rolling. There's a few videos that is going to come out. It's not going to be every day, but it will be more frequent than like 4 weeks of just pure absence. I don't really count the podcast. The podcast to me is like a more off the record. It's more chill. It's not too much effort that goes into the podcast compared to like other stuff. But yeah, that shouldn't go away like that. That should be pretty much weekly unless an emergency happens. But for everything else, is like, yo, that's going to come for anybody who was wondering. But anyways, we're going to talk about Xbox first, and then a lot of this handheld situation and games and stuff towards the end, as well as wrestling, WrestleMania. We're going to say that towards the very, very end. So thank you for watching or listening. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. The first thing I actually want to talk about is more of breaking news. Did you know, or did you hear, maybe you just heard from me off air, but like the head of creative on Halo Infinite is leaving Microsoft. I think this was broken yesterday or the day before. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I heard about it like 2 minutes ago when you told me. Other than that, I did not know.
Yeah, and so I guess I don't know what the information is on it, but we already know, we could read between the lines as far as like whether you was let go or fired, or it's up to you. Typically when you got some status and you've been there for a while, wink wink, they kind of let you say you're stepping down and you're quitting. That's what happened with the other girl, but I guess I'm guessing you didn't just leave, Mr. Joseph Staten. I'm not about to pick on him or anything because it's just fresh news, but I'm thinking it has something to do with just the state of Halo and the perception of Halo from the community, Halo Infinite. And it's kind of, it sucks when somebody does lose their job, but when you're at that kind of level, you're expected to deliver whatever you were supposed to deliver on. And with the way Halo has turned out, at least for the reputation, they did not get what they wanted. They did not get the perception. Halo is not as big of a draw for Xbox as it probably should be. The biggest draw right now is just the information regarding Call of Duty, and then Game Pass as in general. You could argue Starfield is a bigger draw than Halo right now, to be honest. A game that hasn't even come out and doesn't even have that much of a real history, right? It's like its history is based on other named brand games, where Halo is just based on being Halo, and then maybe some shooters that was in competition throughout the years. But yeah, Starfield is currently bigger than Halo as far as like the crowd perception and the draw of going to Xbox, you know. And that's a game that doesn't technically it's not out. It's not out. And so can we blame it directly on him or whoever? Probably not. There was also the other lady that left. I forgot her name. Bobby something. I forgot her last name. But I don't know. I feel like this might be a good move. I feel like this is a good move. I don't think it's going to save Halo Infinite. I think that they should get to work on another one to put out towards the second half of the generation, probably like right when they do like a mid-gen refresh, or maybe a year or two after the mid-gen refresh if they need time. How you feel about this? Do you think they should do that, or should they just keep working on the same one, you know, whatever?
So I think they should, if they've promised some stuff for the current one, then they should still make sure to put that out.
Yeah.
But of course, start having ideas for the next one. I don't know how long this one was supposed to be supported.
So they said it was supposed to be 10 years. They didn't really advertise. They just said it like in passing and stuff. It was never in the advertisement of the game itself. It was Halo Infinite, but Infinite wasn't really infinite. It was just supposed to last at most the full generation, and then a little bit, maybe a couple years after, if the generation isn't a whole 10 years. But my guess is that they thought it was going to be more of, they was going to turn it into a free-to-play type model and use Game Pass to leverage it over time, and then just keep adding content little by little. But just in the beginning, certain content was not coming out in time. It was not having enough at launch. And then people were starting to get bored with what they were playing, you know, and then just also different ways to really slander Xbox as in general from like publications and stuff. It was really making it a bad name after a while. Yeah. And I will admit though, it does seem like, you know, a season is supposed to be a season and not a year. It seemed like that's what it was looking like for their content. For it to be something like a, you know, something that's supposed to come out as a free-to-play game where you just keep rolling stuff out. It was taking a long time to roll out the next thing, basically, and you push stuff back.
But
yeah,
I feel like you have to have enough in there to at least keep people.
Yeah,
for like a full year. If you're gonna take a year each time to like release some new stuff, then you have to have some heavy content. It can't just be like, here's 2 more maps.
Yeah, the main thing I used to push back on was when people was talking about the couch co-op. I remember pushing back on that a little bit because I thought the outrage was a little too high for that. It was almost the same thing as like when you want to have a game, like, you know how like people was talking about something needs to always be online. It was like I kind of pushed back on that slightly too, because I'm just like, well, you kind of need online in order to voice your opinion about it. It was just seemed like a ironic thing in a way, a little tongue-in-cheek humor with that. But at the same time, it's in a lot of other shooters by default though. It's just there. It's not really a popular thing, but it is there, and so it's not in that. And then I'm probably going to talk about this later on, but like when you think of emulation with like some of the handhelds and stuff, and you have emulator called RetroArch that can emulate inside of a ROM the ability to do what they call net play. And it's like, if they could figure that out for like games that's like clone of games, then how come probably arguably the biggest checkbook can't figure it out for like one of the biggest games? You know, there is that.
They don't want to. They don't want to figure it out. But yeah, I don't know. It's
not worth the budget. You think that's what it really was behind the scenes?
That's what it is, because you have to still pay somebody to do it.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to pay the person to do it, then it won't get done. Versus a lot of the mod stuff is always a fan. They're not getting paid to do
Nobody's getting paid.
Or they're getting, if they are getting paid, it's through like Patreon from like people who want it, but like, you know, it's different. I don't know. I do feel like them just going to make the new one is them quitting on this current one.
Yeah.
Based off of what they think it should have been. I think they just need to start working on like heavy amounts of content to like start releasing. And I don't see the issue with having like content done. Like, it's like maybe make 3 really huge things and release one for the next season, but then like you don't have to wait a full year the season after that to release the next one because it's already done. Right? And it gives you time to start working on like even later stuff. I don't know. I do feel like if they move on though, some people are gonna be upset because they might have bought
Well,
into
they don't have
this
to
one.
publicly say it. Like they could still do it publicly, but they should probably like clone what they got and then change a campaign a little bit for the next one, and just kind of come out with a next one where you might have people say like, "Oh, this is DLC." You know how we've been saying everything else has been DLC? It's like, well, you might say that for Halo or something, years later, but they should probably at least take the bare bones of what they've been working on and just add a new, I don't think it should last 10 years. It should be 5 to 6 for Halo Infinite, and then another, like right after that, you just do a whole nother Halo. You call it something else. You can't call it Infinite 2. It's not going to make sense. But you got to call it something else. I don't know. Halo Infinity and Beyond. They call it To Infinity and Beyond or something. You can say and Beyond. Did we let Buzz Lightyear say and Beyond? So we can say and Beyond. And Beyond
it could be a special character in the game. Like they could have a Buzz Lightyear themed outfit that you could get to that's white with the like green and purple. But I also think companies, to be honest, just need to stop trying to make the next Fortnite. I think that's where the issue is starting to lie.
Yeah.
That they want these live service games are supposed to be, you play this forever. And it's like, the people who want to do that and just play the one game forever have Fortnite. Like, you don't need to make a new Fortnite. Make your game. And make your game really good. And people will stay. Versus, like, trying to mimic some of the models. Like, I'm sorry, Fortnite gets that money, and you're just not going to get Fortnite money. I don't know how to.
You know what's funny too? I think Xbox was probably looking at it the same way, where they were just like, "Well, it's not gonna. We don't have to worry about it being a game that prints a certain amount of money. This is gonna be the game that keeps people in Game Pass, and they're already giving us the same amount of money. Because if they had a 10-year plan, they was expecting Game Pass to launch like that whole 10 years for that generation as well. I think Game Pass definitely is still going to live on. It's still really, really hot right now, but Halo's not gonna carry it that whole time. It's going to be everything else. Redfall is a good example. I think Redfall is probably going to have more content at launch and past launch than Halo. And it's possible, at least with the youngest generation, that they might turn Redfall into their thing for Xbox. And Halo gonna be a dinosaur. It's just gonna be the old heads. But hey, it is what it is. But the main thing was that Joseph Staten is leaving. It's brand new news. It'll develop as we go forward. I don't know if I need to talk about it too much more like the next couple of weeks, because at the end of the day, you just want to see what's going on with the game itself. I ain't worried about who's in the office playing Office. What's going on with the game itself. So we'll report more on Halo probably going forward once it gets more content. But yeah, that's the news for that. Another thing I actually wanted to address, I think last week I was talking about them not having a Elite controller that was green. So even though they don't have the green Elite controller, they did still have the red and blue one that they were advertising. But apparently they did still come out with some special edition green controller. It's not an Elite, but it's called the Xbox Remix Special Edition for Earth Day. And I'm like, okay. I'm not really gonna get it. The controller kind of looked a little ugly, but they charge an $84.99 for this controller. And it doesn't have any Elite stuff in it, but it does come with the rechargeable battery. And I'm like, that's like the only difference, but I don't know why they jumped it up to like $84.99. At most it should be $70, like the launch of all the other controllers with with that. But I just wanted to mention that because I was going in on them about them not having a green controller. It was like they kind of came out with one, but it's not the one that I would want, unfortunately. But the biggest news coming from Xbox actually this past week, this past week, is that Xbox has blocked emulation on their Series X and Series S.
Really?
And I thought that was a bold move, and I'm not sure why they would do that, really, because it doesn't help the system. It basically hurts the system, and I don't know why they want to protect possibly Nintendo or PlayStation content from being there or something, because the other companies play dirty when they ready to play dirty. So you should allow the consumer to use their box however they want to use it. But I think it was RetroArch that they blocked the app. Like, you used to be able to download the apps, and the apps were within like, it wasn't on the Xbox store, but there were ways for you to get the apps through the browser to install itself on the Xbox, and then you can play certain emulators on there. At one point, I had considered getting the Series S to be an emulator box. I had thought about it when they were dropping it down to like $250 at sometimes and including the extra controller, because I knew it still had the ability to do that. But Xbox kept coming back through and taking away the abilities, and before it was like on their developer mode, which I believe is still there, but they made it to where you can only have the ability to use it there if you're actively being a developer. And it's like, in order for them to do that, you have to like submit something to show that you're developing after so many times or after so much time. And then people weren't doing that. They were just going in developer mode literally to partition the system over to have space to run emulation on it. And so they stopped that, and then now they stopped it in retail mode because people were in retail mode with that. And remember, I was telling you about how the news about them removing games from the Xbox store, then the community put the app in there for 360, and so they blocking that. They're like, nah, you can't do that. And I think that's a dumb move. I think that's a bad mistake, because their counterpart is PC, and they can't do that on PC, and people do that on PC anyway. And they've allowed a generation now, this past generation, to associate their games with PC so much that they should at least allow you the access on the system side to do those same things, because everybody else who have a PC, they still majority people are still under the Windows operating system, which is still owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
And if you tried to block it there, you're going to have a huge chaos on your hands from everybody, including myself. So I don't know.
Blocking people will mod around it. Like,
yeah,
there's no way they would even block it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a huge influx of people who will go into Linux. But what do you think about this blocking it from emulation?
So I think that's a dumb decision. Like, people have already paid like $500 for it. Let them do what they want with it.
Yeah.
Because you even put it in your warranty thing, though. Basically, it's like, if you start editing it in a way that we didn't say you should, we're not going to fix it for you, right? It says that in there.
Yeah.
So if people want to mod it, okay, it's not your responsibility anymore, right? It's not like they can send it to you like, your machine isn't working. It's like, nah, you broke it, so that's on you. So let them do what they want. Like, it's not hurting anything unless the mods are specifically affecting, like, online games where now they can cheat. So now you have to put in all this stuff where people are cheating, and it's just happening.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing is just block mods. I don't think that's happening, though. Or if people are modding to get around Game Pass, and that's becoming so rampant that you're heavily losing money, I get your motives. But I don't think that's happening. It's literally just, you're going to play it the way we intended. And that's the weird thing to do.
It's funny, too, though. Like, their official Skyrim, where you can buy directly from Bethesda under the system, they have certain community mods that they've just sort of added in within the game that originated from the community. That they just have it there. Like, it's like, well, you can have this mod that we've pre-put in here because we thought the mod was so good, basically. And it's kind of ironic in a way because now you're blocking people from probably, using modded material from other games or just probably stock games, stock ROMs, which the thing is they still would have had it anyway. Like the damage that you're trying to stop them from doing is like actually emulating stuff, but they would have had to download everything before even putting it on there. And like the hardcore already have this on like hard drives ready to go on any device. They drag and drop it on any device. So you're not gonna stop nobody. Anybody who wants to do it, they're just gonna do it on a different hardware anyway. So yeah, that was bad, but it kind of leads me into my next topic because anybody who wants to emulate, they're going to emulate on hardware that allows them to do it. The main hardware that allows them to do that is going to be on the Steam Deck now. That's more popular, just PC. But the PC community now has another handheld that's out there. Okay. And I think you've seen this before. This is called the Asus ROG Alley, I believe. I don't know if it's ROG or just ROG Alley.
Is it Asus or Asus?
Probably Asus.
ASUS. Their laptops, I will say, great. For anyone out there that may be looking for a gaming laptop and you're trying to figure out what brand to get, I usually recommend Asus. So sometimes like you might need to plug in like the battery life can be sometimes a little like drainage, but like quality wise, it was really good. I remember when I went to go pick it up and I didn't know which laptop to get, and real quick I just described to the guy, I was like, I need something for school and I want to be able to play like this game and this game. And he was like, well, this is the laptop you want, and it wasn't bank breaking. Right? At the time, like it was much cheaper than a lot of other ones with like a very nice quality for it and kept up with everything.
Mine is decent. Mine is decent. It didn't break the bank too much, but this is like I'm on a Asus laptop right now. But I'm going to get a regular tower, but the device that they have is a strict handheld. And I believe the story of this was that they introduced it on April Fool's Day. And I believe initially people thought it was a joke and it wasn't real. Then we quickly was finding out that it actually is real. And so immediately it was being compared to the Steam Deck. And it doesn't have a price yet. And I believe it's still kind of in this alpha stage. I don't know. It's only like some people who actually have this thing, or it might be beta stage. When people have it, it's beta, right? So a few people have this, but I believe it is... What draws people to this is that it's supposed to do 1080p at 120 hertz, basically, which is almost directly in line with a standard system like a PS5 or Series X, but in your hand, right? Steam Deck is black, so this one is white. I don't know if that really matters, but it's the yin to the yang, and it's possible that this might cost somewhere between $800 to $1,000, maybe over $1,000 though. So that's probably going to be the biggest drawback. But other than that, 1080p gaming in your hand, and I can imagine it's still going to do majority of what the Steam Deck does, but at 120 hertz as far as like gaming. So it's another system out there. Have you seen any videos on it?
I have not seen any videos. I just heard that it was something being made, but
so it's out here.
I don't know. That's pricey. Oh
yeah, of course. I think it's definitely still going to be less people. Like, so the Steam Deck itself has over 1 million sold so far, right? Which is pretty good for a new device hitting the market. It doesn't have that much lineage before that, so that's pretty good for that. But I can imagine this device is going to be way less sales than that. I don't think it's going to pass. If it's at that price, because people got to also understand the base model of the Steam Deck was supposed to be the answer to the Switch Pro, basically. there not being a Switch Pro, people wanting a Switch Pro or Switch 2. And remember, they came out with the Switch OLED. And so it was like, okay, here's the Steam Deck that's actually going to do that. And then you're going to actually be able to emulate Switch. And then everybody's like, oh, this is better. And then, Steam Deck became a thing, and then the rest was history. So this is supposed to do that at an even higher level, this Asus device. But the price is going to always be the deciding factor. So anybody who was like on the fence with the Steam Deck, they're probably not on the fence with this based on price, I think. Now, if they can find a way to bring this out to the market and is actually undercutting the Steam Deck, or at least matching the Steam Deck, then you have something here. But I still think at the same time, the Steam Deck has the biggest quality of them all, and that's a gigantic library of past games that you already own. Similar to when we talk about Epic Games and adding everything, it's like it's already there and it's portable and you get to have it, and then you can still dock it and put it on your TV and turn it into a console if you wanted to. Where the Asus, I'm pretty sure you could probably access Steam on it, but they don't have that same marketing yet. The marketing is literally like mentioning Steam Deck. Like it has to compare itself to Steam Deck. Where the Steam Deck is not going to mention anybody else. It probably is. The Steam Deck will mention Nintendo in passing, or the community will, for like the bad reasons. But I don't know. Who do you think this device is for? Because if right now we got too many.
If there's anybody out there who really is just like anti-Steam, like honestly, like I feel like
it could be the.
For some reason,
the Epic
really
device or something, like if they partnered directly with Epic somehow, right. That would be
something like that.
That's a whole new level of console war. If it's a PC app war. Like it's just, I'm not using that app ever. I know there's some people like that, but that's a new level of extreme, because it's like, well, you literally have it though, or you have access to it. It's like 2 clicks. It's not even that you have to go buy anything, but it's like, nah, not. It's like, okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know who this is for. It could be for people who are just collectors of all devices, or can't like get a Steam Deck. Like it's just, if Steam Deck is always sold out on them and they're desperate to have a handheld, this is like the
Steam Deck is more ready. Yeah, I think the Steam Deck is a lot more ready and available now. Like if I really, really wanted to, I could probably order it now. But I do think it's for the enthusiasts, people who just want to make those comparison videos, people who just want to make videos. Is the content creators are definitely the ones who's going to have to buy it, like by default, whoever really wants it. But past that, it's like, okay, here's another device to do the same thing. It's almost like when everybody's device has the ability to log into either Netflix or YouTube or social media. It's like, here's another device that can do that. You can put it on your watch. You can put it on your phone. You can put it on a game system, a laptop. If you think about how many devices you have that can run social media, you'd be like amazed when you write them all down. And at some point, it's like you have to think, how many devices do you need to run the same game? It was like the exact same game. It's like I can see if it's like a couple other different ones, but if every last one of them pulls like Apex, for example, it's like, well, wait a minute here. How many of them do I need to run Apex? But yeah, it's going to be a better Steam Deck apparently, which makes me believe that they're going to have a whole nother system at some point. Obviously, Steam Deck is going to have to make Steam Deck 2. Just to keep their leverage, which I'm expecting them to do that at some point. But at the same time, it's like, well, now somebody else is going to have to come up with theirs. Somebody else is going to come up with one after that. And we may have a situation where the market gets very oversaturated with hardware, and the software is still coming at the same pace or less. Because in the same amount of time, the games are doing the opposite. It's like it's more pushed back. It's more delays, or stuff is not coming out in polished states. You know what I'm saying? It's like the exact opposite. And so there might be a big problem with the market if we just start pushing out devices and not really the games. So that's my thought on that, and that actually leads me into the next topic, really, which is the funny one is a whole nother handheld, but this is the PlayStation handheld that we have to talk about, which is not necessarily, I don't think this isn't official at all. It's just the community kind of just came up with this. I think it's in the response to the generated hype at the last minute of the Asus handheld. And then next thing you know, PlayStation has a handheld, and then we start seeing some of these like weird Photoshop pictures of the controller stretched out with a screen in the middle, and they're talking about, it's gonna have haptic feedback and stuff. And I'm like, where did y'all get this from? Like, I don't know.
Insider Gaming, who gets some like a good chunk of things right a lot of times, and of course some things wrong, but that's why people took it to like heart, because it was like somebody who has gotten things right in the past, who was like, there's rumors that Sony is developing a new handheld, but it is not Vita 2. It is not a like legit.
Yeah, they had different names for this too. Vita was one of them, but yeah.
Yeah, so the PlayStation Vita, of course, was like a competitor for like, I guess, like 3DS or things like that, where it could remote play, but it could also, like, it had its own games and everything that you buy and put in the stuff like that. This is purely for remote play of the main system. So it's supposed to pretty much look like a controller. You have your screen, and you can like remote play, like stream the game on. Which is weird because I think that's already a feature you can do on your phone. And they have like the different things that you can attach to your phone, right? Like
the backbone. But I'll do you one better than that. I'll do you one better than that. That device already exists. That was that Logitech device that Xbox was like talking about at one point. You remember that?
Yeah.
The one that was like an extra $100 more than it probably should have been. But it was marketed to be associated with Xbox, but that particular device, you had the ability to stream from both devices if you wanted to. From your PlayStation account and your Xbox account, and have that portable device do streaming strictly for both. So you could argue this device kind of already exists and is technically better because it doesn't skip one area. It holds both. Yep.
This is purely for anybody who wants something specifically made by Sony for some reason.
Yeah.
But besides that, what it is for anybody who may still like be confused, it is not like a 3DS or a Switch or anything like that. It is purely like you were playing the game and you were told you got to go spend some time with the family, so you bring this with you to go sit downstairs, or you have to go use the toilet, but you don't want to stop playing. That's that's what this is for. You just remote play to the thing, and then you can just keep playing instead. And I don't really see a purpose in it unless you just don't want to drain your phone battery, or maybe you're waiting for an important call. You're trying to watch TV and you want to play a game at the same time. Well, then now you can do this. If you find yourself in that situation,
the thing though for me is, isn't it by default obsolete though, because it's strictly for the PlayStation 5 and not like Steam?
Yeah.
So I mean, like the Steam Deck, as well as even the Logitech device will give you more options by default. It's probably even cheaper. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Logitech device,
and it will need to be connected to the internet at all times.
Yes. Yeah, I was, hearing about all this stuff, and I was just kind of like, this. It's one of those things where it's like the fanboy thing is kind of like reached a peak in a way. So
I got excited. I thought it was going to be like a Vita 2, right? And I have a PlayStation Vita. I didn't play for a while until I just like really kind of like I play at home now. But for the actual handheld system with like PlayStation quality games, I use my Vita to stream one game like directly to the Vita instead of for the PlayStation. And it was really cool because I was over a friend's house, basically. So I had my PlayStation on, and then I went over to a friend's house and was able to remote play. So we were able to like still co-op a game while sitting next to each other. I just wanted to see if it would work. So we did that once. Other than that, I had its own games that I had on there that was just strictly Vita like games. And it's the same way where you had the old PSP games where it was like you had the strictly God of War PSP
Yeah.
games and stuff like that. Like that's what I thought might be announced, and I was interested to see what new specifically made for handheld games are we gonna get. But no, this is just another remote play device. If anything, it's just Sony going, some people still remote play and we want them to buy ours. I don't know why they're making it though. It just feels like a
it just seems odd because the Steam Deck is a device where it takes their actual like made for TV games and can put it directly on like a handheld. So if they make a device where it's not really able to do that, or if it's not,
it's specifically just supposed to be you're streaming directly from your PlayStation 5 if you need to go to another room. But then again, the PSP and the Vita I've heard blew up heavy in Japan. So maybe this is a thing that like will market in Japan and do well.
probably.
I don't know. I don't know. Did you side note, well it's still tech with Sony, the controller. So have you heard what their the new
I didn't
patent?
see anything about a heated controller. No, you could tell us about it.
Yeah, there's a new patent out that just because the patent is made, that means they're coming out with the idea, but it's not going to be something that's going to like drop later this year or if ever. They might have just had the idea and then realized it's not going to work. But the idea is supposed to be part of the like part where you hold it from your hands. There'll be like a band of it that's like made from like a gel instead of like the hard casing for the controller. So it'll be kind of a small part. But the idea is supposed to be like haptic feedback. It pays attention to like what's going on in the game, and it'll program. So for example, in God of War, when you're in the like cold areas, the controller like that gel part will become like cold, so you can feel the like cold. And then when you go to I forgot where they were. Basically, when you had to go to hell in like God of War, like whatever theirs is called.
I don't know if I want to feel that, but yeah.
But like it's just heat. Like the controller would start getting hot and everything. So that's what they're trying to design. I guess they're really trying to go for immersive stuff. I feel like this would be better in like a VR case.
I can
where,
apply.
Like, if you had to pick up something cold and then the controller got cold to like really immerse you with the VR. But like,
I can applaud the idea of it, but I don't like the actuality of it. Like, because the first thing I'm gonna just think is my controller overheating. Whenever I think of like anything computer wise and heat, typically heat and electronics equals bad, basically. Like, so the idea of that is just, it sounds good, but when I think about like just heating up, funny enough, I'm gonna talk about something like that similar with handhelds later on. It's just, I think that sounds like a bad thing, because even with the systems, like they had to put such ventilation on the systems to try to keep it from heating. It's like to do the opposite for the controller just seems strange. I mean, I understand the immersive, but yeah.
Also, I feel like if the controllers are already like can barely it's just gonna die faster. Which tying back to the handheld that they make, because they're designing it after the controller and everything is what it's supposed to be. Those things already die quickly, so it's just like.
And what do you name it to you? Because like if you have your DualSense Edge, and that's supposed to be your elite controller, and then you come out with another feature that's not on the Edge, and call yourself charging more, that would be a problem with the market, in my opinion.
The DualSense Edge Plus.
Yeah, that would be crazy, especially if they try to charge like something like $250. That would be crazy. And it's like, oh, because at the same time too, like how long would that last? Like, I feel like that would go before the other stuff. Yeah.
The other issue though is the fact that, like, for example, let's say, I don't know, like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
There's a whole chunk of that game that it doesn't take place anywhere cold or too hot. So like you buy this controller and it won't do anything for majority of it until you're like walking in some snow.
I did have a quick thing I wanted to say about Last of Us. I guess I could just mention it real quick because it didn't need to last too long. But apparently, Steam was giving away full refunds for The Last of Us Part 1, the game, because of how bad the state of it was, I guess. So they were just handing it back. That's usually something they don't do unless you like only played a certain amount of hours. But they were just like, listen, for this one, we got you. So yeah, that was a thing for Last of Us. So
but temperature change controllers. I don't know. If anybody listening is like excited about that, let us know. Like, I'd like to hear why. It might convince me. Who knows?
Convince you to buy that. It'd be interesting if that would be the one type of controller where if you go to a kiosk, it would definitely it would draw me to the kiosk. I would drive 30 minutes to whoever store got it, just to get a feel real quick. But if you try to charge me 150-ish, well, probably 250, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, if it don't burn off, then that'll probably be a good idea. I do actually want to do a quick impromptu because something came to my mind. Like while we were talking about this, and I kind of wanted to talk about it for a split second. I don't know if I really need to make it a rant, but maybe this has to be a rant. Maybe you think there's got to be a rant. Maybe we'll have to rant for a second. But how come everybody else is trying to come out with a handheld, except for that one who company that need to actually make a handheld? Another one, you know which company I'm talking about? Starts with an N. It starts with an N. How is everybody else coming out with all these handhelds except Nintendo? Like, where is the Switch 2? That's the handheld that we need to get information on, the rumors and not rumors. Where is the Switch 2?
Here's the thing. What? If you keep to the Switch 1, you can blame any glitch. You can blame any lag. You can blame anything quality-wise on, well, that's the hardware. But if you start upgrading and your games don't upgrade, that is your fault.
I'm just saying, because we got news on the PlayStation handheld. We got news of another super-powered Asus handheld that's supposed to be a rival to the Steam Deck. There was that Logitech one that came out and didn't do anything. Like, it kind of just flopped. Like, literally only the YouTubers had it, right? And it was just like, there's that. There's a couple other ones that just got no name whatsoever that's like supposed to also be competitors to the Steam Deck. But there's no Switch 2. And I'm like, yo, that's the one that literally needs it. If the Switch 2 was doing what this Asus was doing, oh my God. The press would be through the roof if we was hearing this about a possible Switch 2 and there was some form of evidence. But there's like nothing here. And I'm like, well, where is that particular system? Like, where is the next hardware for that? We don't got any news on it. We got more news on like Tears of the Kingdom, but like, where's the device that can handle it with no problem? You know, that's all I'm saying. That's my rant.
What I do find crazy is the old days when you would hear about a handheld system, it was always, they're trying to compete with Nintendo. But everything that we mentioned today was trying to compete with the Steam Deck.
Like, yeah, I'm like, yo, like the one system that's supposed to stand up to it and not be bullied by it, we don't hear anything about it. And just like, well, that's the one that kind of needs the update. Maybe it don't need it this year. I would still like to see it probably in 2024, maybe 2025. But I'm just saying, as far as news, leaks, rumors, there's been some stuff here and there, but it's like there's no real concrete stuff where we've seen like a prototype or anything. But we hearing about all these other, things. I'm like, well, where's that? That's my rant. That's okay. It. We could probably move forward.
Can I throw in an impromptu thing real quick that I just found out?
Okay.
It has to do with that. So we're talking about Nintendo being silly. Well, EA is also being silly. I don't know if you heard about this, but in South Africa, they're stopping physical game distributions for EA games.
What?
So in South, just broke apparently 2 days ago. And I remember like just thinking about it, and then it just came back to me. But yeah, EA has announced they will no longer distribute physical video games in South Africa. They gotta buy them online now, which is crazy because South Africa is huge. It's a big place. So if it can happen there, it can start moving to other places as well. So EA is already like no more physicals.
That's kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do what other people do here, and that's just import stuff. But outside of that, like for the people who really, really want it, like I don't understand. Like, is the sales like just low over there? Do they charge them more, and those guys say forget about it?
If it's EA, then that means like their soccer games are like probably the main purchase thing.
And
maybe everything else.
Everything else is more American sports. I don't know. That's crazy. But yeah, if I was them, I wouldn't even be phased. I would just be like, all right, emulation. But yeah, we gonna get to some more talk on that later. But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. What I don't like is when some of them just kind of feel like they have like the power to make certain decisions and just be like, that's just it, deal with it. I don't like that. And that's kind of what it sounds like. But yeah, I want them to push back if they can. However they can.
Take a vote. I don't know, as a company, take a vote. Like, ask all the EA players, like, hey, what if we did this? What's your thoughts? Like, at least something.
See, it's funny, like with Xbox, there was this whole Activision deal that was ongoing, and we were sick of talking about it. But it's like, where was the regulators for these type of situations? Do they just have no say at all, or like I don't know how that works? But it's just like some of y'all regulating the wrong stuff. Like regulate that.
You can't specifically tell a company you need to make a physical copy.
Wow.
Right? Like you're telling them, hey, you spend money on a physical copy, and they can just be like, no. Because they're the ones who have to produce it. So it's weird that they can just be like, this area doesn't get it versus everyone. Like they're just like, we're doing only digital across the board versus specifically in South Africa. But yeah, like
it almost makes me want to use the R word a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not, but it's like I could see people probably taking it there.
I can take it there, but also keep in mind the heavy population of South Africa is not your typical. Without getting all racist, a lot of them are British immigrants. Think Justin Gabriel. Remember him, PJ Black?
Yeah, I remember.
He's a typical South African guy.
Yeah.
I think Scarlett Johansson is South African. That gives you an idea.
Well, we can move on. We can move on.
But still, you can still consider it that way because it is still Africa. But
we can take it back to PlayStation real quick. So God of War Ragnarok finally gets its new game plus. You remember hearing about this? I think this is technically your topic, though.
Scarlett's not South African. I don't remember who is South African. Sorry, I just need to correct that. Scarlett's not. Anyways,
Somebody gonna get you in the comments. Go ahead.
That's fine. There's some celebrity that was like, oh, they're South African. It's like, oh, that's cool. Anyways, God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, they got a new game plus. They added armor, including that like furry bear armor that you wear at the beginning of the game that just leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And they've added level caps, some more enchantment stuff, some things that you can do to switch up your strategy. You get access to all of the weapons and everything at the beginning of the game. However, certain areas are still locked until you unlock like your thing that you would have unlocked like when the game normally happened. Right. So like anything that, for example, used spear, you can't access that part until you would have gotten the spear within the story. However, you could use the spear throughout the story.
You can use it right before you go see the mermaid. That's the funny part. It is.
Yeah, you can just use it from the start of the game. Yeah. The mermaid hands you a spear. But they also added Spartan armor, and you can transmog if you just want the look. Because I think the Spartan armor is also supposed to be like, it has no, like any buffs. There's no buffs or increase. So it's like the super hard mode. is the Spartan armor, and it makes you like weaker. I think like in terms of how many hits you can take.
You know what's funny? I still had like 2 berserkers that I didn't get back to yet, because I had like by the time we was playing other stuff, I kind of just I still have it installed, but I haven't gotten to the last couple berserkers.
Yeah, I didn't fight any of the berserkers, and I still had the one queen.
Yeah,
Valkyrie,
the queen as well.
And I was like, I'm good. Like I ain't over here trying to just die repeatedly. I'm all right. I tried to fight one berserker. He whooped me, and it was very early in the game, and I didn't know what it was. And I unlocked it. He just smacked me 3 times. I did beat the little hellspawn things, but like I was like, I'm good from there. But also, it turns out that the new game plus, the boss enemies, especially those ones like the Valkyrie Queen and stuff like that, switch up strategy.
Man, that's the one person you don't want to switch up strategy is the Valkyrie
switch
Queen.
Up strategy, so figure it out.
But yeah, I still had a couple berserkers and then the actual king. That was like the main thing, and it was really the same reason I said before I stopped, because of that glitch I was getting around the Game Awards time. I was in the in game, but it was still like glitchy because they did that one patch, and I'm pretty sure they've fixed it. It's just I hadn't really went back to it. I was just like, I'll just go to something else. But yeah, it's good to see that it got it. I'm glad because it's more complete now, and then they didn't charge you for anything, and so that's the main good thing.
Yep, this is on the latest update.
Yeah, so
you know who else got an update?
Good on them. Yeah, go ahead.
No Man Sky also got an update. It's the Interceptor update. So it adds new ships, corrupt worlds, some stuff that you got to get where you got to fight a bunch of things. It's been like what 10 years of just constant free updates. They also
has this really been out 10 years? 10 full years?
Like that. Yeah. They also added, what else did they add? VR improvements for those that are
I saw the update. So it was called the Interceptor update.
Oh no, it's not 10 years. My bad.
Not 10 years.
It came out 2016.
I was thinking about it for a second. I was like, that seems a little long. That seems like very long. But yeah, I saw the update, and the one thing that stood out to me about it is I remember thinking to myself while watching just some like trailer footage for the update, I was like, they finally added some combat, because I noticed that like you can kind of attack some robots or whatever. And I was like, that was the main thing that they wasn't really having, was just combat. But it still didn't look like it was enough for me to justify playing it fully. But I think I might still go around to it. I was looking at all the prices, and it seems to be around the $30 mark across the board, whether you buy physical or digital, on like all the platforms that it's available on. Outside of the Switch, I didn't check the Switch for obvious reasons. But for everything else, it's $30 across the board. And I think it is still technically, it's in Game Pass still right now. And I was looking at it. It still looks very good. It looks very polished now. The graphics and everything. I think they've added like ray tracing to it as well. Like it looked very good. It's just it still doesn't look like there's more of an objective that I would be interested in. As a full, this is my main game right now kind of thing.
I played it when it first was out. I did try it then, and then I came back to it, and I've tried multiplayer stuff with it too, and it was fine. It's good. Again, it's not. Yeah, it's more make your own adventure. Like you land somewhere and you just start doing stuff, but there isn't really like a story, like, or at least I didn't find like a story with like a mission objective sort of thing. It's kind of plopped in and you just kind of do stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was okay. It still got a little glitchy on me at one time, but I'm willing to try it again at some point and see. I will say I know where I'm getting the big number from. It's not 10 years, but they've had 25 updates. That's what it is. Okay. They've had 25. This is the 25th.
Like content updates, right?
Yeah. This is the 25th one. So they're really making up for it because they made all those promises, and then it came out and it wasn't there. And then I think they've more than made up for it. 25 of them. Like it doesn't seem like they're slowing down.
You know, I don't even know if I should say this. Should I say this? Is it going to be canceled?
Probably.
We might need to go ahead and get them to work on Halo. Like I feel like Halo needs No Man's Sky developers on it, I guess. Because if they're able to just come out with content like this, like because at the same time, if you're saying almost 10 years, Halo was supposed to last 10 years now.
Yeah,
So this is the team that can do it. And Halo got some space kind of stuff. You got that ship. You got the little the cart too, the go-kart or the truck. So they got some stuff, so they could try. That would be the one thing. Like Halo can help No Man's Sky with the combat, with the shooting, and then No Man's Sky can help Halo with the content. This is the company that needs to be bought, Microsoft. Here you go. Whoever is running this, they can help. You talk about like strengths helping the weaknesses. We need some more shooter content in No Man's Sky, and then we just need content period in Halo Infinite. And all you gotta do is merge the two, or just like move some people around or something. Like this is like the perfect yin and yang right here. I think I just had an epiphany. Like this is the perfect one. Like they can help each other very much with this. Like I don't know, it'll never happen, but this would be it, I guess. Yeah, so I'm eventually gonna get around to starting No Man's Sky because I do every now and then will watch video clips. I'm talking just 30 minutes to an hour sometime, just watching people walk around, scan flowers, and do absolutely nothing. I mean, it just seems that way to me. And I'm just like, yo, when are you doing? Like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't see, there's no enemy. It's like, where's the Thanos on one of the planets? I don't see nothing. So I don't know. But maybe that, because, yo, even if I would have took Craig, like, I'm talking first version of Craig. I would have took that version of Craig for No Man's Sky. I would have took him. It's like, I need something. It's like, where is first version Craig? This is what I'm talking about. It's like, they can help each other so much. But yeah, we can move on. We're close to what I would consider the halfway point, so I'll probably just say it's the halfway point. So at the halfway point, I usually talk about games that you can get for free and some good sales. And this involves our unofficial sponsor, which is Epic Games. They still haven't sent us a check. That's okay. I'm gonna need to check eventually. But anyways, Epic Games, free games. We all like free games. Remember, you do not need a credit card to just simply add games to your profile. You just need to create a profile. You can do that for free. And then you can add all the games that they have available that's free. And then you can have, all this collection of a library once you finally get a PC. And you got plenty of devices now. What do we got? A PC, regular PC, small laptops. We got all these handhelds that are coming out of nowhere. So once you pick one, you have a full library. So anyways, the first free game is still Dying Light Enhanced Edition. This is available now to April 13th. This would probably be my first not purchase. Is it considered a purchase? I guess you could say, because they do make you go through a checkout even though it says $0. But
but that means you own it.
I never had Dying Light, so this would be my first time trying that type of game, where I heard it gives some people motion sickness, like if it was a VR game. But I don't see myself playing it any other way unless somebody else gives it away for free. So I'm probably going to try that one on here. That's probably one of their biggest games since their holiday season. So they usually do little games like the next one. The next one I think is called Sharps, I believe. Or not Sharp, Shapes. I'm sorry. Shapes, no R. Which is also available from now until April 13th. So those are the free games that's available right now. And then from April 13th to April 20th, one of the games is called Moored How. And I'm not too sure about that. That looks like a war simulator, almost like a medieval multiplayer online game. That's more just you just at war basically, and it's first person perspective, and then you're just doing a bunch of stuff there. So that's one of the free ones that's going to be from the 13th to the 20th. The next one I think is interesting is actually Second Extinction. And I think that was something I talked to you about last week, maybe off air, which was that shooter. Or we might have talked about when we was talking about Exo Primal, but it was the Jurassic Park shooter, basically. I guess they're double dipping because they did the early access already. Because when I clicked into it, it still said that I owned it basically, even though it was the early access version. So when that is available, if you already claimed it last year or whatever, you don't have to claim it again. However, I believe the full price of it right now is $24.99. So I think you will own the full one when it comes out of beta. From the way it looked on Epic Games. So once it's out of beta, I think you are still going to own it. I'll find out more about it later if it's not, and I'll correct that. But I think as of right now, you will own the real thing. So yeah, that's another one. And I think that's another game we can highlight as like a co-op game. Yeah, I think we talked about that too. Like that's a co-op game where you're doing your Jurassic Park simulator with guns. So yeah, there's that. And then other than that, I have just a couple sales this time. A lot of stuff I was looking at, it was seeming like some of the sales I mentioned in the past 2 weeks are still the same. So they might be, some of them might be permanent markdown prices. So check out some of the old episodes if you want to see more stuff. But as of right now, to add to it, one of the games is The Outer Worlds. The first one that was the PS4 edition is $8.49 at Best Buy. And then it's also on Game Pass if you have Game Pass. And then Need for Speed Heat, the Xbox One version, is $8.49 also at Best Buy, physical edition. And I believe that's the main ones. But there's one other one that I thought was interesting because this is technically a new game. But Dragon Ball The Breakers. You remember that? The special edition of this is $9.99 physical at Amazon for all versions, PS4, Switch, and Xbox. And then it's still $9.99 as well for the special edition version if you get it at GameStop. And I'm like, yo, this game is not old at all. Like, it's mad new. Like, I know they...
But it's done. It's done.
I guess because they announced Budokai Tenkaichi 4 and just threw this one away, I guess. I don't know what happened with this, but this was still technically, like, it can't be more than 6 months old. I don't know. It can't be. But yeah, $10. I know it was like a Dead by Daylight ripoff, but $10, you can't beat that. I mean, literally, your food gonna cost more than that. But yeah, and that's it for the actual sales. Did you have anything you want to add to it? Anything out there you saw?
No. I think Digimon Cyber Sleuth might be on sale for Switch.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. There you go, people. That's a funny game. That's a game I started but didn't finish. I'm still gonna go back and finish it. One of my handheld games, I guess. I have it on the Switch. What was you gonna say? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's right now. It's $9.99, and it ends April 17th.
Does it come with the other game? I think it was called Next Order. Does it come with that?
Oh no, this is Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory.
Hacker's Memory. That was what I meant to say. I don't know why I keep thinking Next Order is one of them, but no, Hacker's Memory was the other one. Yep. So yeah, if it still comes with that, that's still a great deal.
Yep. See, I got some deals. I found one.
A 2-in-1 special for Digimon.
Exactly, for $10.
I wonder how much Survive is out there, because I remember Survive died real fast. And then we kind of just... We didn't hear nothing else from them. They just kind of was quiet. I still plan to
try it out. I'm waiting until I know I will try it out. Looks like it's still 60.
Probably because of the anime attachment to it. But at least it don't.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't take up too much space on your hard drive.
GameStop got it for 40 for Switch.
Okay.
And 30 for PS4.
All right. Well, shout out to Digimon. But yeah, speaking of games that might take up a lot of hard drive space, here's a game that that you're looking forward to probably a little bit more than me. Jedi Survivor. What's going on with the news on this, man?
I'm so excited for this game. I loved the first one. I'm a big Star Wars guy. But they haven't talked about the file size for consoles. However, the file size for PC is 155 gigabytes. That's the starting space that you need. So, of course, with updates, it might add more. But for a single player only game, 155 gigs.
Sounds like it's about to be up there with Call of Duty real soon, because I know Call of Duty is the one game that really takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
And Destiny. Destiny was like 115.
I feel like part of that, though, is to help it, like, do all the multiplayer, like, stuff to be able to run and, like, load it, all of that stuff quickly. I don't know how technology works. But I feel like multiplayer is a reason why it takes so much space.
I bet.
So I'm trying to figure out why this one isn't. So the first game was 55 gigs. It looked beautiful. But this one's, 155.
Yeah, so I'm probably taking my time getting around to that. I might have to. Because I would have to delete, like, a lot. It don't matter which system it is either. Well, I might have some space on Series X. I don't think I took too much space on that. I remember having...
Bro, I'd have to PS4 so I can go to the hard drive, because, like, that is a lot of space.
That's crazy. But I hope it's worth it. I hope it's not just, look at the atmosphere, the clouds, the mountains. I hope it's like content. Like, at least if it's content, and if it's just extended beautiful hover world kind of thing, then it's like I don't know what to do with that. It's like I can gall at it all day, but I would like for it to be content. But if that's boss fights, if that's extra crazy looking lightsabers and all of that, then yeah, sure, take that space. But it is a lot. It is a lot. But hopefully it lasts, because as long as it lasts and it's a very solid game, then it might be worth it. But you will have to sacrifice some space. But if you're throwing away, cheaply made stuff for the good stuff, then it's a sacrifice that's worth it. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! You gotta sacrifice this game and that game to make space for this one. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! On the device, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's good stuff. I don't think it's gonna be too bad. It might be bad for anybody who has like data cap limits. You might run into some issues here and there. But if it's worth it, hey, as long as it is worth it.
Yeah, hopefully it will be. Real quick, because the game's on the screen. Warhammer Vermintide 2. I played this with a brother and sister, and it's fun. It's relatively kind of like a story. You're kind of like trying to clear out areas, and it's a very light, like Warhammer has a very deep lore, but in terms of like needing to like follow a story gameplay for the game, it's kind of light, at least as of now. But you just kind of go to an area, and then there's like hordes of enemies that'll just start running at you, and you got to take them down, and they'll like just pop up at random. There's no like at one point we were just standing in the same spot for too long. And then, like, all of a sudden, the horde just came back to that location.
They just spawned back up at you.
Walking. Yep. It's just, they'll come at you. So I feel like it's more of a time thing, where it's like every once in a while, for time-wise, hordes of enemies will just come at you, and then you have objectives within the, like, level. And you have your Warhammer characters. I chose the dwarf. But, like, Warhammer characters with different abilities and things like that. It's up to 4-player co-op. You're just taking down rat people, but it was pretty fun.
Taking down
like
rat
a horde game. Yep, the rat people are the enemies. They're all
okay.
I don't know how else to describe it. They're rat people. They're people who are like think a werewolf, but like a rat. Like that's basically.
So do they bite you then, or
They
You
try.
turn into them, I guess.
No, no, it hasn't done that. But they do try to bite you, and scratch at you. And there's one really annoying one that'll just like stab you with some like really long spear, and then just start taking you away. It's like you and your team has to free you. You cannot free yourself. So it'll just be in the middle of a horde, and then somebody's like, "I'm being taken," and they gotta figure out where you are, just go get you. Like
Is it strictly online multiplayer, or is it like a
You can
single?
play solo.
Okay.
It'll give you like I think like NPC, or not NPC. It'll give you computer teammates to work with you, to help take down the horde because it'll probably be a mess trying to take it down on your own. But then if you play co-op, no more PC players, just all co-op, whoever you have with you. So you need at least 2 people. But yeah, it's good.
Okay. Is this free to play, or did y'all pay for it?
I pay for it.
Okay. PC or system?
PlayStation. So we got it on PlayStation. If you have PlayStation Plus Extra, it's in there for free.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's good. It's a good game. I enjoyed it. Probably get back to it soon.
Okay, awesome. If you're gonna talk about impressions, I guess I could talk about an impression real quick I got. For a little emulation device. I could talk about that real quick because I decided to buy one of those devices I talked about a while back when I was not necessarily picking on, but I was criticizing a little bit the play date. I don't know if you remember that. And I was saying afterwards, here are some devices. I actually could see in the Discord the picture of its competitor, but it looks something like that. The one that I have, mine was black, and it's still translucent. But the device that I bought was called the Miyoo Mini Plus, and it's a pretty hot device. It's still one of those things where you kind of have to just catch online in order to get, and if you don't catch it in time, it like goes away or sold out. Similar to PS5 when it was PS5 and Series X when they were like being bought by bots and stuff like that. I don't really think this is being bought by bots. I just think the people are on it too fast because they only put out like 2,000 a month or something really minuscule like that. Like it needs to be a lot more. But basically it's a Game Boy Advance, not Advance. It looks like a Game Boy Color, but it plays that and so much more. And I haven't done all the tinkering to it that I want to yet, but I can tell you, man, I'm quickly falling in love with it based off what I've done so far. It is probably one of the coolest things you could do with the tiniest like handheld, basically, that could just fit in your pocket. I actually I was looking at these videos of people, or not videos, but like screenshots of people who are buying like a case that's from like off of Amazon or something that fits like your external hard drive into it. It's supposed to be an external hard drive case, but this thing is like the same size of an external hard drive, so you can literally fit this in that case and like probably a charger or headphones or something and take it with you on the go. Phenomenal device. I mean, there are people who are scalping it right now for like almost 150. This thing is like a $50, $60 device. It really you only need to spend that much. But what you get out of this device is just so much. Even if I don't tinker with it at all, I still went in there and like wiped out their I wiped out their ROMs from my ROMs basically. But even before I did that, there were still thousands of stuff there. Like if you were a kid that grew up in any type of arcade environment, like I promise you almost every one of them are in there by default. And then afterwards you go in and you put your complete libraries of like all the other devices, and this thing just has it. It's just like the craziest thing to me that we've come so far in like technology, because I'm somebody who watches people's game room tours. I still love to see it, but imagine having like a bulk of what you see in that video all in one device, and it just runs. No problems whatsoever. Like, your modern device can just do it. And I don't have to worry about something like loading up my cell phone if you was to try to do it on the cell phone, because some cell phones can still do it. Any cell phone that can do all the remote play with no problem, or something like xCloud, like, you can probably do this on your phone, but you probably can't fit the entire libraries on your phone. Maybe you can, but you're taking away space from like important stuff, your pictures, your movies or whatever. But like with this device, like, it's completely separate. And it's like, yo, I can literally have the whole library with me at all times. You know, if I'm in a car or something, if any situation. Now, like in real life, I don't see a situation where somebody's on the go for more than 4 hours and they're just like on the device the entire time. Typically, if you're out like that, you've got something you got to do. But it's perfect for like,
you traveling like vacation with a family or something.
Yeah. But those are still extreme situations. It's not lasting on an everyday basis, like for a while, you know. But it still got you covered just in case, you know. And if you are somebody who, for any truck driver out there, like, order this. You need this. This is your device. If you are somebody who drives, this is your device for sure. For any of those guys. This is like the coolest thing. And you know what's really crazy? There's like this custom firmware that came out for it, I think either yesterday or the day before, that's called Onion OS. It's kind of funny because like its competitor is so this is the Miyoo Mini Plus. Its competitor, I believe, is called the 35XX, something like that. I think I got that right. It's the thing that's on the screen in Discord. That thing has a custom firmware that's called Garlic OS, and it's supposed to be like in competition to this. But both devices kind of do the same thing. It's just one of them has the Wi-Fi. Like the one I have has the Wi-Fi. The other device doesn't. The pros to the Wi-Fi is that you could do all those retro achievements, and then you can move your save states to other devices and stuff without removing hardware and hooking it up to anything like a SD card. The con, though, was that I believe on this device, it only goes up to 128 gigs on the SD card, where apparently the other device goes up to like half a terabyte. And it's like, that particular one can hold like the full PS1 library technically with no issues. And like everything that it plays, it can hold the entire library altogether. So it's very appealing. And I am probably going to end up getting that one too, because it's like literally only $50. And I'll have like two different colors of this, which is cool. Because I when I was a kid, I actually had the Game Boy Color that was purple, that was translucent. And they have like a purple model for the 35XX, the Amberdick device. That kind of resembles that. It kind of gives me a little bit of nostalgia, so I kind of want to play that again. But yeah, man, emulation is strong for anybody who's like worried about like the 3DS we talked about last time, where there's a device that kind of looks like that just coming out that's called the Retro Pocket Flip. That does 3DS very well. Like, I'm not tripping over a lot of these companies literally because of these devices and emulation in the community. Because like when somebody is like, oh, we're taking away this, like you can't emulate on this machine, or you can't buy anything anymore on the other machine. You know what I'm saying? Like so far we've had this now in all the major companies, because Nintendo just took away the Wii and 3DS online, right? Xbox just blocked you from playing emulation on your device. PlayStation attempted to take away the PS3 library, but they did take away the PSP, if I'm not mistaken, like the online purchases and stuff. But literally, it's like where they take it away, the emulation area like introduces it. And it's just like, if they're giving you no way to do it, then I kind of co-sign just buying one of these devices that already has some of the stuff, or tinkering with it like I do. I tinker with this stuff all the time. until it's like practically perfect. Like out of the box, I would give the Miyoo Mini Plus, the one that I have, I would give that a like 7 out of 10. I wouldn't give it a full, because I think at the same time, a device that you have to do stuff to technically isn't perfect out of box. It's kind of like, it's considered imperfect in a way. Like I remember taking points away from the PS5 initially because I didn't like the fact that they came out with it and it had a hard drive space that was less, and they gave you the ability to go pick which M2 dot drive that you could pick. That's like $200 each for that little thing. And then you got to make sure you have a heat sink, and then you got to make sure it's like, you got to wait for them to give you a certain list and stuff. So I was like, nah, you got to take away from that. So I'm kind of keeping the same energy here. It's like, well, I still got to do a lot of the work. But once you do it, then it's like a 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's like a 9 out of 10 once you do it. Because it's just there. It's just there. And there's a lot of other features this thing has that I'm probably never going to use, like the ability to watch movies. I'm like, I don't know why that's on there, but it's on there. And then I haven't really tried to, but technically I can put like a book in there as well. Or probably, like I was saying before, it would be cool to just have it like comics, like gaming related comics. I would put in there maybe of a full set of, or like maybe 1 or 2 series, and I'll read it that way. But I'm not sure if I'm going to actually do that, because I do have like a full tablet that does it. My phone does it. And I think those devices, when it comes to something like reading, I probably want a bigger device to read off of, like the tablet, for example. So I might not temper with that, but the actual gaming, bro, I was playing, like, there were games in there that I just clicked on that I didn't really know existed. And I just kind of clicked on it and just was playing in a matter of seconds. And it was fun. Like they had like a monster truck game that was like a monster truck kind of racing game that was on Game Boy Advance. And it reminded me of Wreckfest, but like in Game Boy Advance quality. And it's just like, you're just driving around, you're wrecking everything, you're wrecking your own thing. And then they kind of boo you because you come in, like I came in like 5th place or whatever. So they kind of booed me when I came through. Or like I switched out of that and switched into like one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games that was probably in the Cowabunga collection, but it was like one of the other Game Boy Advance games, which is kind of like a Streets of Rage kind of thing going on, and it was fun. It was just fun. It was there. I showed you that like Japanese Power Ranger game. That game is cool, like excellent.
The Justy Riders,
something that is cool. That one's cool, and then like other Pokemon games and stuff. So it is well worth the $50. Do not go out there and get somebody's scalper $90, $100. Be patient. It'll pop up. You'll be able to get it. They got all these other devices. You thought like the handheld market was saturated in the like official market, because there's other things like that analog pocket. Like in the emulation market, it's just too many at this point. But the reason this one stands out is because it's like one of the only ones that's like way less than $100 at launch or whatever. So I could justify somebody who's spending like $50 on this and then just having like the entire libraries from the past on here. Huge shout out to Metroid Fusion on Nintendo, is one of my favorites. I think that is on Nintendo Switches online. But the one game also that came out like right after that was like a remake of the original Metroid. I think it was called Zero Missions. Metroid Zero Missions on Game Boy Advance. Highly recommend playing that if you're starting Metroid and going up. Majority of the Metroid games you're going up on is here. So if it's not on the Switch online and you have no other access and you really want to get to it, like you could put it on one of these devices and it works, you know, unless you have like a computer and you want to watch a big screen. But the main thing is the options are there, and that is just like awesome. The options are there for anybody to do some cool stuff. So If I had any drawback, I would say, I'm still a big dude with big hands. So after about 2 hours or whatever, it feels a little cramped, But I don't think this device needs to last longer than that. I think the battery life is like 4 to 5 hours. You really don't need to be on it that long. It's just to play a little bit. But yeah, $50. I recommend it. I recommend this competitor, the Ambernick device, the 35XX. Get one or both. Give it to a friend. That is the coolest thing, man. That is the coolest thing. I can let it go now. I know I talked about it a long time. I'm gonna keep tinkering with it. I'll let you know if anything bad happens to mine. I've seen there was one drawback that I probably should tell the audience about, because apparently some of the early units, for some people, like if you play it for a little while, some people had their screens fall out. I've seen that. So that hasn't happened to me. Knock on wood, it never happens to me. But I do know, just from common sense, it looks like if somebody's device was heating up a little bit too much, it's possible that it might melt the glue or something from behind the glass. And that's probably the reason. For anybody that was having the issue, from what I noticed, it doesn't have a lot of ventilation on the device. If you drilled a little hole in the back of it somewhere, it'll probably give you the ventilation you need. But I can imagine that's only happening when you're playing the PlayStation 1 stuff, because that's the only stuff that has a lot of power that draws from the system, which would generate a lot of heat. And so without proper airflow, that would make sense then why it would heat up and then probably melt the glue behind the screen or something. But it hasn't happened to me. I know it's brand new, but I'll let y'all know if that happens. But for anybody else who was on the fence about that, I'm pretty sure if you just put a hole in it somewhere to allow proper airflow, you wouldn't have to worry about that. I'm not too worried about that because I do still plan on getting a Steam Deck. And if a particular game is just not running directly on that, I will move it to the Steam Deck simply because it's too powerful for this device. It's kind of common sense, right? Especially if anybody's going to have 1,000 devices that's playing all this stuff, even like the Asus and everything, then just play it on the better device if you're going to get more than one device. I will say though, for a $50 device, it's I'm okay with certain things maybe not working, especially if I could play it probably on a laptop anyway. Like when you're talking PlayStation 1, I could probably play the official version on my PS3. But if it's that Asus system and it's pushing $1,000 and then we have issues there, that's probably where you're going to have a problem. Wait a minute now.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute now. Now, this is the real device. What are we doing here? But yeah, man, I fell in love with it. I encourage everybody to get one. Definitely. That's the one I recommend. You're not breaking the bank. Now, that Retroid Retroid Pocket Flip is supposed to be like a 3DS kind of device. I'm not too sure if I would recommend that simply because it doesn't have the second screen. It's on the first screen. It still will play a lot of 3DS stuff. This device I have doesn't play 3DS, but that one will. But at the same time, you're talking about getting emulation devices where you're spending more than $100, and I'm not sure if I really would recommend spending over $100 on an emulation device. It kind of seems not worth it unless you just really want a device where you have a whole lot of libraries in one. But I couldn't recommend it if you already have a Steam Deck, if you already have probably this Miyoo Mini or something, just because it's how many devices, like we said before, with the other handhelds, how many devices do you need to play the exact same games? It's at least with this one, it's okay, I've got a certain amount of the library portable that's not taking up space anywhere else. And it's I can justify that. But I don't know if we're going as far as the Asus, but yeah, that's all I got to say on it. I was just thought it was really dope. I just thought it was dope. And this we can move on. There's a couple more, or one more gaming related news, and then we could talk about wrestling. But I didn't see the Mario movie yet. I don't know if you saw it, but
Not yet.
Literally, from the perspective of everybody who hasn't seen it yet, the one thing I just wanted to address was this like out of nowhere, like a big amount of bad reviews apparently that was coming from the critic side, because I guess it got like a Rotten Tomato score of something like 43% or something, which is considered like low. And it kind of came out of nowhere, and I saw it. I kind of laughed for a second. I was like, "What's wrong with it? What could it possibly be wrong with this?" It's funny because I just mentioned this, and Kirby comes on the screen, but it's like, what could have been wrong with this movie? I don't know, but
my issue is I don't like critic opinions on these type of movies because they're judging things on some like what would win an Oscar type of thing. Which gets annoying. Like they're not like it's not like they're writing from the perspective of a fan or something like that. Like they'll describe it as like a cute, charming film that's obviously targeted towards the youth, and it's just like, well, okay, like I don't understand if I just don't like critic reviews. Like I'd rather see what actual fans think. Like I don't need a Mario movie to introduce groundbreaking concepts of like political like talk. Like I don't need that in like a Mario movie. I just want a fun film.
Is it the same situation as like with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Remember, because I know it rubbed you the wrong way, but it seemed like
that's what I'm talking about. The thing with like the IGN idiot who was trying to compare it to like wrong stuff and everything. And it's just like, don't do that. Like it's that's what I need. It's like
they're comparing it to Shawshank Redemption or something like.
Yeah, like real quick, actually, I was talking here, right? Like Shawshank Redemption versus Mario. Yeah, like which is better, Mario or the Green Mile? But so one of my issues, and I talked about this with somebody that like I keep hearing this phrase superhero fatigue. Right? There's just like, are we in a superhero fatigue because the movie's blah blah blah? And I feel like that is the most critic made up phrase I have ever heard. Like no one has ever said. I don't see how
that would apply to Mario though. Like I don't really.
No. It has nothing to do with Mario. It's just my issue with critics. So when they talk about this type of stuff, it's like there was no racing fatigue, and we've had so many like Fast and Furious movies along with other racers and things like that.
There was no action. I stopped fatigue. After a while.
There was no teen apocalypse fatigue when they kept doing like Hunger Games and Divergence and all the other like these were just they had their time and then they went. But critics are so mad that like people rather go see a superhero film than one of their Oscar-winning movies that nobody has ever even heard of. That they keep adding this word for like superhero fatigue, and it's like people just want to go see what they want to go see, like, and that's it. And like I don't know, it's just weird. So like when the critics talk about this and everything, they're not looking at Mario from like the film of does this do Mario justice? They are definitely criticizing it on how does it hold up in comparison to like big movie ideas. And it's just like it could just be fun. Like it could just be a fun movie.
I didn't actually see the details. I'm gonna be honest. I saw that and I saw like a little bit of the backlash because I know there was a small group of people who was like blaming Chris Pratt. I saw that and I think he had like a response or something at one point, but I didn't check too far into it. But I just saw it. I thought it was kind of funny because I was just like, yo, like why
to make this point?
Yeah.
To make this point, based off of the like, they do tomato meter versus audience score.
Yeah.
So the tomato meter with the critics and everything like that, based off of 198 reviews, it has a 56%. Audience score based off of 5,000 verified ratings has a 96%.
Okay.
This is why I don't take critics serious.
That's
like
funny.
Here, so it says the critics' consensus. While it's nowhere near as thrilling as turtle tipping your way to 128 lives, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is a colorful, albeit thinly plotted, animated adventure that has about as many Nintendos and Nintendon'ts. That's dumb. But calling it thinly plotted It's the premise of a Mario movie. Like, everyone walked into this understanding what the premise is. There was nobody here that was like, oh, I wonder what they're going to talk about. Like, it was very obvious what it is. That's like calling Zelda, Legend of Zelda thinly plotted because Link is trying to fight, or trying to save the world. And it's just like, it's not thinly plotted, it's the premise. Like, everybody knows it's the premise. So, yeah, critics can shut up.
I just thought it was funny. I don't know. I am gonna obviously see it. I don't think I wanted to go in theaters to see it. It kind of comes off. I don't know why. To me, it's like when I see like high production animation, high production animation. Immediately, my brain says it's a Christmas movie. I don't know why. I felt the same way about the Frozen films.
That's a weird comparison.
It just the second I see like high resolution cartoons or something, that's the first thing I think is like, oh, that's something you watch with family at a like holiday thing. I don't know why, but I feel like I remember saying that to myself when they did Sonic. I was like, oh, it's a Christmas movie, and it's like, it's clearly not, but it just kind of felt that way for me. I don't know why.
I went to go see the first Sonic in theaters. I maybe saw the second one in theaters. I think I did. And I'll go see Mario in theaters. I was just giving it some time. I've been to the movies a lot lately. Like, I saw Dungeons and Dragons, Shazam, something else in between. Or before, there was a Marvel one. Oh, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania. And I'm going to go see Mario, and then I'm going to go see Spider-Man in June, and Blue Beetle. I'll see them all.
All right. Yeah, so I kind of want to watch them on the flat screen here. At least I'll get, very, very small amount of next to zero crying babies. I don't want to see none of that. I don't know why. I just feel like a movie like this might have a lot of crying children in the theater. Maybe it won't. Who knows? Maybe I'm overdoing it. But I don't think it's a critical disaster or nothing. Usually when you see something that's 40 and 50%, it's like, that usually means it's bad. So when that first came out, I was like, dang, why is it bad? I thought it would just be straight up just regular. I thought it would just be a movie, but
like I said, that's why, because critics are saying it's not reinventing the wheel, or it's pretty predictable. Okay?
Well, of course it's predictable.
That's what they're
Mario of all things is going to be the most predictable out of every one of them. You know exactly.
Yeah.
I would imagine Peach gets captured at some point early on in the first act, and she gets rescued in the third act. I don't even got to know the movie. So. Maybe it's not, but that's probably going to be a lot of people's assumption, like immediately, like without even seeing it.
Bowser.
But yeah, it'll be all right. It's gonna be an alright movie, whatever. And I guess we could talk about what might be considered some of the biggest news for a certain crowd of people. Biggest, and I don't know, nothing big has really happened yet, but apparently, I'll set the stage for one part, because we're gonna talk about one part. With WrestleMania happened, it was a big weekend, and then right after WrestleMania, there was this big news to come out that the company Endeavor, which some of the headlines was like kind of like a little misleading, because they would say UFC bought WWE, and it's like, it's not technically UFC that bought WWE. So Endeavor is the parent company to UFC, and they acquired WWE for $9.3 billion. I think they said like before that came out, it was like WWE was estimated to be valued for over 21 billion, but then UFC or Endeavor put up 9.3 billion, I guess, and so now they acquired them, so they're going to be a part of them. I don't know how the merger is going to work, if it's just going to like keep running like in real time, but that happened. So we still had a big WrestleMania show weekend. And then also what we're finding out is that with this merger, it looks like within WWE, at least so far, business is going as usual, but as usual is the way it was before, which means Vince McMahon is back in the driver's seat, baby. He is back. He is back. He is no longer canceled. Probably one of the only people who can forcefully uncancel himself that I've ever noticed, ever. Because some of our singers and actors cannot pull this off overnight. But nope. Vince can pull it off.
Found a way.
How was WrestleMania, man? How was the 3 weekend or however show?
Yeah, for the most part, WrestleMania was good. I think night 1 was much better than night 2. So
I saw the Cody Rhodes memes and I was laughing at some of it.
So yeah, the night was good. They did not end on the women's Royal Rumble winner match. It ended with Sami and Kevin, which I think was the hotter story. Versus the Usos. Sami and Kevin won.
Okay.
They had a men's multi-tag team match earlier in the night. Omos lost to Brock Lesnar, but it looked good in the match. Yeah, it was a good show. For the first night, and then the second night was pretty good. A little less. It was good. But they had what was it? The main event. Cody lost, and it just feels like the wrong move. I feel like they were on the cusp. It's here's your big new baby face, right? Roman barely kind of wrestles as is, and he takes a lot of time off. So it's he gets to take more time off, and Cody is your new guy, and then you can start building up other people to come try and take him out.
But Cody ain't new, though. Cody ain't new. He old, man. Cody is part of the old crowd.
They can bring new people to try. Well, no, the issue is that I have with it is they did that, and it was a real shock. It wasn't the worst ever decision in the world. It was just a weird one. I feel like Cody should have won. But it's fine. Tune into the following Monday, and I'm ready to watch it. And as I'm watching the show, it just didn't feel like a good show. It felt like an average Raw, nothing special. And then it felt to be honest, this was before I saw the reports. When I was seeing the things that happened, I went, yo, did Vince write this? It's what I said. Because it was where I talk about this, and this is where I don't like, is consistency with storytelling. So Brock Lesnar was the big feature to come out, and he's I'm going to team with Cody. And right away, I was he's going to trade on him later on. And then at the end of the night, he beat everything out of Cody and everything. And I'm you could have done this same rivalry with Cody having the belt. I don't understand, because now it's Cody can't go after Roman because he's going to have to deal with Brock. Roman's just not going to be there. So now you're doing the whole thing again where your main champion's not on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could have just had Cody as the main champion on the show and Brock going I should have been the one to take down Roman, blah, 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 and then now he's going to take him out. Or something like that. It's weird what they're doing. But you have that. Omos randomly had a match, and we'll talk about that in a second, which was okay. And then it's the night after WrestleMania. This is supposed to be the let's see where the stories go. Let's see who they bring up and all this other stuff. Elias was there, and Matt Riddle returned.
Okay.
That was it. It was Matt Riddle returned to save or to fight The Miz. He beat up The Miz. And that was it.
Shout out to Snoop Dogg.
Oh, yeah. So I forgot about that from WrestleMania. One of my favorite moments. And it was started as I was no. So Shane McMahon came back, and I was why? Why is he here? But Shane McMahon showed up on night 2. So Snoop Dogg and Miz both hosted for WrestleMania. And on night 1, Miz got into a match with Pat McAfee. And George Kittle from the 49ers was there. And they kind of jumped the Miz. But then the night 2, Miz comes out with Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's I'm preparing another match for you. And Shane McMahon's music hits. So Shane gets in the ring, and he does a leapfrog and tears his quad on the way down. So he the Miz bounces against the ropes, and then Shane just falls to the ground instantly. So the Miz is bouncing around the ring, trying to keep the spirit alive when they figure out what's going on, and Shane cannot get up, right? And you can always tell when it's a real injury or if not because of who the camera focuses on. And that camera turned to the Miz. It was not looking at Shane whatsoever. And it was oh, okay. He's really hurt. So Miz is bouncing around the ring, and then Snoop Dogg just improvises because they got to do something. So Snoop Dogg just gets in the ring, and it was just like, no, I just punches Miz in the face, and Miz falls, and then he like the ref like comes into the ring for this, and then he punches Miz again, and then does one of the worst but funniest people's elbows. Like he just does it, moves real slow, and then bounces off the ropes, and he does the people's elbow. He didn't have an arm pad to throw, or elbow pad, so he threw his sunglasses. But he bounces off the ropes, does the people's elbow, covers the Miz in the like sloppiest way possible, where he just lays over him, and the ref is like 1, 2, 3. So they improvised that whole thing on the spot.
Yeah.
Any replays that they showed of the night left Shane McMahon out. So
I have to, give some respect to Snoop to be aware and to actually probably do something, because he could have just stood there and be like, yo, I'm Snoop Dogg, and that's it. You know,
that's what they easily could have done. I'm sure Miz would have figured something out and just bragged. Because even on the following night, he kept saying he had 3 WrestleMania matches. That's how he kept putting it. And he keeps saying he beat Shane. Like, he was bragging about, like, Shane, like, got beat so bad he couldn't even finish the match. Where he never touched him. Like, that was the whole thing. Shane just got hurt on his own. But yeah, shout out to Snoop Dogg for that. So the following night, all this stuff was happening.
He got big props, like, in the back. Going back there. I know he probably did.
So, so it turns out in the women's tag team match from WrestleMania, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler win. I knew they were going to win. Mm-hmm. It was fine. But then the following night on Raw, there was a match between one of the losing teams, so Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Damage Control without Bayley. And the winners will become number 1 contender for the tag team titles for Becky Lynch and Lita. And it's like, well, why isn't it Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler? Like, they won the 4 women, like the 4 tag team match, 4-way tag team match, and yet the losers get a number 1 contender match. And these are losers from 2 separate matches. The losers of the 4-way tag team match and the losers of Damage Control versus Lita, Trish, and Becky. Like, the losers got to fight for number 1 contender spot, and there was no Shayna or Ronda or mention. And then Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez win.
Okay.
So they're number 1 contenders. But like the match, the night just felt the blandest post WrestleMania, and it just felt like random things were happening and didn't make sense. Well, it turns out, because they were still in Hollywood, Vince, after Endeavor won, was like, hey, guess what? I'm not going to get involved, is how he put it. He was like, I will be at the tippy top of creative, but I'm not going to be in the gorilla position or doing anything like that. And then walked in on Monday and sat in the gorilla position, which apparently upset a lot of people backstage, because he just said it earlier that day he wasn't going to be there. He saw the script, ripped it up right before Raw started like he normally does. He didn't let Bayley go out there with Damage Control. He just told her to stay in the back for some reason. Omos was supposed to just be chilling that day. He was just backstage, and he was in the catering area. And Vince always had a rule, always bring your wrestling gear, because you never know when you're going to get thrown out there, because he would always rip up scripts. So this was not part of the script. Omos was just chilling. And then Vince was like, no, you're out there. Go out there with a match with Elias. And it was like, oh, okay. Elias, or not Elias, LA Knight, going to be getting some main feature. Apparently was supposed to do something with Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania, which got cut by Vince, and instead Bobby just walked down and waved. Also on Raw, at some point, Seth Rollins did the old Chris Jericho thing. So he came out to the ring while the audience was singing his song. He stood in the middle of the ring while they all chanted his theme, and then he just walked away. That was a full segment. Right? It was a full segment of just that. The women's number 1 contender tag team match was also a last-minute plan. That wasn't supposed to happen. There was supposed to be 2 separate women's triple threat matches where the 2 winners would go on to face each other the following week, and the winner of that would be the number 1 contender for Bianca Belair's title. But Vince scrapped that. It was just 1 women's tag team match to determine number 1 contender. Bayley, you stay in the back, and then Seth Rollins, you go out there and just get some people chanting your song. He pulled all of that last minute. Okay? So he did that. Then for Friday, for SmackDown, I decided to tune in to see if maybe they fix it. or something else because it's still the SmackDown after WrestleMania. Matt Riddle came out again. LA Knight is going to be fighting Xavier Woods next week. For barely any reason. Roman wasn't there at all. And apparently another set of losers from the women's tag team match. Natalya and what's her name? The green-haired one. I don't know why I can't remember her name right now. But they come out and they're just like, Shotzi Blackheart. They're like, hey, we don't like that y'all are number one contenders. We want to be number one contenders. So then they have a quick 3-minute match where like Raquel and Liv win. And it was like, again, Shayna and Ronda won that tag team match. Why aren't they number one contenders? Like, why is it the losers fighting for this spot? So they did that. Nothing at all eventful happened for SmackDown. And then it was reported that Vince didn't show up to SmackDown. Like, he went home. However, any creative decisions did go to him, and he made a couple changes. So officially, Vince is back. Vince is he's the top of creative. Triple H is no longer in charge.
Sir.
Like, Vince is in charge. And I said before, if Vince is back in charge, then I'm not watching anymore. So I'm not watching anymore.
Listen, like, man, he is the genius, man. This is the guy who created everything, though, man. We gotta.
It was stupid. Yeah, but you can't do it now. Like, you suck now. Every decision you make is bad. Like, women are upset because, again, their matches are getting cut. Their matches are getting shortened. There's no real storyline. People don't know what they're going to be doing the night of. There's no plans in place because you just rip things up right before and you get free reign of how you just want to change things. But it's not even like you're paying attention to the weekly product. We don't know. Matt Riddle showed up on both Raw and SmackDown to do the same thing. He fought The Miz because The Miz called him out, and then he saved Sami Zayn. Like, that was it. That was Matt Riddle's role for both nights. He was the big surprise for the nights, was Matt Riddle. That was the big surprise.
Shout out to,
the draft is apparently coming
UFC
back in a couple weeks. Yeah, the draft is apparently coming back in a couple weeks. Who cares? Like, it's not going to do anything. They keep doing the draft, but then if you can just rip the script and anybody can be anywhere, it doesn't really matter. Shinsuke is going to be back next week. Cool. They're not going to have anything for him to do. Walter or Gunther, we don't know who the next Intercontinental opponent's going to be. However, they did his team, Imperium, versus the Brawling Brutes yet again, just to do it. And it's just like, okay, can he get a new opponent? And no, like, he doesn't get that. And that's what I'm talking about with the Vince stuff, like, from recently. He just walks in, he just rips things up and just say, just do this again. There's no reward in watching the previous week because it goes from being an episodic, story-driven thing to an episode of SpongeBob, where there's no reason I have to watch the previous week. So, like, at this point, I don't want to have to tune into Raw and have to wonder who wrote this. Or I don't want to have to, like, is this a vid? Like, if Triple H puts out a bad segment, at least it's still story-driven and going somewhere. But now it's just like, well, who knows who's writing? Everybody that Vince fired, Triple H brought back, Vince is just going to fire him again. Or punish them for coming back.
That was the joke that I made. I was like, yo, what if, because it seemed like a bunch of people was trying to itching to get over there. Like, they were trying to get over there fast. And I was like, yo, what if he just come back, though? Because he had made the joke initially. He was just like, or it wasn't a joke. But everybody laughed like it was a joke. He was like, yeah, I'm ready to come back. And it was like only 2 months at the time or 1 month or something. And it was like, my man was like, I'm ready to come back. And we like, really? You ain't even, you just left. Like, what?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he was like in the creative, or not creative, but he was, he made himself head of the board or something. It was like something had to do with like the stocks. He walked back
in for the board meeting because he has the most stocks, and it was like, we're selling. And then like, as soon as WrestleMania hit, they sold. He put himself in the head of creative. But it was like, don't worry, I just need to hear the last thing and give like the last say. But I'm not going to be there. And then just shut up and lied. So it's just like, he can just pop up whatever he wants. And move the show however he wants. I don't want to watch anymore.
He made some boss moves, man. That was a boss move. That was a true boss move. I was like, you know what? I'm not even upset.
Yeah.
I just think it's
the
funny.
product sucks because of it. Like, it would be fine if it was like, even if it was like, you don't really like his stories. My issue is there's no consistency. Like, when he was fully in charge, when I first stopped watching on a weekly basis, was because they kept doing Elias versus somebody. I don't even remember the full rivalry. But it was Elias versus somebody. And they fought each other. Then they fought each other the following week with no mention of the previous week. Then they did it again. Maybe it was Rick Boogs. But they did it that many times. And then they had a Symphony of Destruction match where they fought with instruments. And that was supposed to be the end. And then they just fought each other in a singles match the following week again. It was like there's no reward. Like, matter of fact, the watching previous weeks is actually a downfall because then it's just a repeat match. It is like there's no consistency. He picks one story to focus on, and everything else is just, I don't care what happens. But then when you hire writers to do stuff and you just rip it up. To constantly hear how, like, everybody was happy backstage when you were gone, and now you come back and morale is completely dropped. And the first thing you do is immediately do the one thing that people said they were happy about when you left. Like, you left, the script wasn't ripped up, and they were like, okay, maybe I can work here. And that's the first thing you do is rip it back up. Like, that's why nobody want to work with you. Like, it's just, if this is what you want to do, it's your company. It's your business, and you made that very known by coming back in to ruin everything. So you want to make it known that this is yours until you die. Okay, well then bye. Like,
I remember that was the saying before. Now it's like, that is literally what's going to happen. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Like, and you know how people go like, you know how they say people go senile and dementia and stuff, and they kind of just get, their brain deteriorates until their innermost thoughts or something is the only thing that's still there. Like, literally, at some point, his brain's going to deteriorate, but only wrestling is still going to be there. And he's he's going to reduce down to a robot of just simply being the head of WWE. Nothing else. No Linda. No whatever. It's
crazy. It's just, I don't know. I know me not watching is not going to do anything. It's not, we lost one viewer. Like, whatever. Like, it's fine. Do you think it's just with how bad it feels to me and like how bad it looks? Like, it's not entertaining. Like, I don't think his creative stuff is entertaining anymore. I'm not going to suffer through it. Like, I have that choice. I'm just not going to watch. I don't want it to. And then I know AAA still gets a lot of his stuff. So maybe the product will still be good and Vince only changes one or two things, or maybe he stays quiet. I don't want to have to watch and wonder. So it's just, the product's not for me anymore. I move on. Vince ruined NXT. That was the only thing I want. Vince ruined the main roster. He ruined it again. Eventually, he'll somehow ruin, like, AEW. Like, it's just, I just need to take a break from wrestling, I think. It's fine. Whatever.
YouTube. My co-host ain't going nowhere. YouTube. You wrestling fans ain't going nowhere. Vince has done his homework on y'all for too long. Y'all ain't going nowhere. I'm cracking jokes because it's funny. Y'all not going nowhere. Y'all gonna keep watching this, man. Vince has been doing this for too long. If y'all was gonna leave, it would have been like 8-9 years ago when y'all should have left. Y'all not going nowhere. I'm not trying to hear this. Y'all gonna be there next week, man. Vince is done. Vince knows his audience, man. He's like, listen, y'all need me. We need Vince, man. Y'all see that meme? It was like one of them where it was like, there was two of them that I saw and I laughed at both of them. It was like one of them where it was just like, yo, he took this company from 1 million to 2.9 million or something like that. And then there was another one where it was just like this super long paragraph of people like advocating for Triple H or something. It was just like, yeah, Triple H did this and that. I'm like, listen, this actually might be a great example. You will never get to a certain level in any company as long as it's somebody else's company. It's not your company. So at some point, you got to go in business for yourself. This is probably on a more personal level for anybody out there, probably motivational in a way. You got to try to get your own business off the ground, because when you putting your hours and time into something so much, and you think one day you're gonna be in charge. At the end of the day, the other person's name is on the receipt. Like they can come back whenever they want. I know that's probably bad to say about Triple H, but yes, that's kind of my answer to that Triple H meme that I saw, where it was just like this long drawn out paragraph of somebody being upset that he did all this work and stuff. Like, listen, man, but he don't own the company. Stephanie McMahon had to understand that herself. She was like, listen, I'm out of there. I've had enough.
Yeah.
Maybe if Stephanie and Triple H like ran away with their own money and they kind of teamed up with a couple indie developers or indie producers out there, and then
Freddie Prinze Jr. He wants to start his own. Team up with him.
Like if there was a certain group of people who left with them, like if you really left, like you really wanted to be with Triple H and y'all all started a company together, similar to TNA with WCW and stuff, like then I could see it. But as long as like 21 billion is a lot. Like as long as somebody else done bought them for that, it's like I don't see nobody else leaving. I poke fun because it's like I was in a community where I literally was watching people hate watch Raw and would do like podcasts and stuff afterwards where they had just veins popping out of their face, hollering and screaming at John Cena especially. So I'm like, if y'all didn't leave then, I don't see you leaving now when they created John Cena again, or Hulk Hogan basically again through Roman Reigns basically. So it's like, I don't know, because once Roman Reigns is done, you're going to grab another guy and then he's going to main event like 8 more WrestleManias, and then you're going to be sitting there, somebody going to be sitting there basically watching like 40 plus years of WrestleManias where it's like the same 4 or 5 people that main evented like 8 of them in a row. It's like, well, at some point, like you're Doink the Clown basically at some point if you keep going. But no, my only concern with wrestling at this point is what is the influence from Endeavor with UFC? Because the one thing that nothing that's so it's a double-edged sword there, because if somebody can actually work where they're respecting wrestling, I wouldn't mind watching it. Or if somebody really wanted to do UFC, I wouldn't mind watching it, because what's his name? Jake, We the People, basically him. Like he did well in a MMA fight. Somebody like CM Punk did not. He did not do well, right? But somebody like CM Punk excels excels to an extent. He excelled at one point in wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I, for one, I feel like Ronda Rousey is not necessarily an excelling person in wrestling the way she was in UFC, but also in UFC she didn't have as much competition. It was like really just Misha Tate and like a couple other people. Really, Amanda Nunes at last minute, right before she ended her career. But there's like nobody else really. But like the one thing I don't want to see is what happened in TNA. I don't know if people remember this. TNA had Spike had TNA and Bellator at the same time. And at some point, they just started to take wrestlers, or they took MMA guys and dumped them into wrestling and then abruptly snatched them out when they saw it wasn't working and was messing up the show. Like that, I don't want to see. So I remember that. Like John Jones is an excellent MMA fighter. I do not necessarily need to see him in a wrestling match. I know Conor McGregor is teased back and forth because he's taken a lot of wrestling elements within his character and put it in his persona in MMA, but I don't want to see him in a wrestling match unless he can actually wrestle. It's like that was something they did. They put like one dude in the Mafia and the other dude came back, Tito Ortiz, I believe it was, and Rampage Jackson. And then the next thing you know, they were just both gone and stuff like little things like that. And I don't want to see an influx of people who are retiring out of UFC and coming into WWE, and then basically they're booked to be Brock Lesnar strong, and they're like at the same time, like in the real world or in their element, like the fighter that they dodged, like that's the person who really made them look bad or whatever. And they come into another area and then all of a sudden they're immortal. Like Ronda Rousey might have had some status and everything. It was like, yo, you got pieced up by Amanda Nunes. You know, you reap what you sow is what they say. at the last minute at the tail end of your MMA career and you were gone. And the next thing you know, you come back and you're just like almost indestructible in the beginning. Like that, it just didn't look right to me. It sends a bad message to the locker room as well as just wrestling in general when you just bring a bunch of people in that's just gonna no sell. That's right. The only thing that I don't want to see. Now if they still do make me like some sort of hybrid pay-per-view, it might look weird and very disjointed, but I mean it would be an idea. Or they have like, they don't make the UFC and the WWE pay-per-views on the same nights or the same weekends. That might be a better thing, because there were times where the UFC event and the NXT event were like the same day sometimes. And it was cool for somebody like me who just watched the whole thing later. But if you were trying to watch live, there was like you have to choose. So I could see the good thing in the, like, where going forward, they're not on the same nights, or at least if it's a 3-day weekend, the first night is probably the UFC night because they do stuff on Friday and Saturday nights. And then afterwards it ends with a wrestling night. And you might see like some like promotional material like on Titantrons and stuff in between shows or in between matches. You might see some UFC stuff. That might be okay. That's fine. I just don't want to see wrestlers just come in, they're or both on both platforms. I don't want to see retired wrestlers or wrestlers that don't got nothing to do. All of a sudden they want to be a fighter and then they just perform like CM Punk did. And then I don't want to see UFC guys just retire out and they're just coming in the WWE like indestructible and they're just like no selling stuff. So like that's what I don't want to see. As far as like Vince McMahon, like that's just gonna be business as usual to me. I'm used to seeing that. There's been questionable stuff. It's just kind of funny to me because it's like I see like a lot of stuff from different communities of people like melting down and stuff. But it's just that's probably gonna be regular wrestling for me. I am somebody who watches everything, or at least I used to. I'm gonna try to again. For anybody who is really fed up and you really want to see good championship fights, New Japan Pro Wrestling is where you need to be. They got an English version now. Our English commentary is usually the ROH guys and stuff, but you can get it in pure English. They've done a good job of having every show is just pure English, and just watch it online. And you probably everybody's still gonna watch like AEW at the same time. I think Lucha Underground is probably gone forever, but you still got AEW. New Japan is like where I hold the highest, even with some of their guys missing. And then ROH, Indies, but it's like it's always had bad stuff for me. It just seemed like same old business as usual. So I didn't think too much of it. It would be bad if one of the rumors is true, where Triple H is supposed to address the world and quit. I remember hearing that.
Oh, no, he just said we're getting the draft. That's what he said. Okay,
because I remember seeing something like that. Like they kind of teased it and allude to at least the fan base. I was like, that probably would have been very bad. Yeah. But he's done as a wrestler. And
so before I called it trash, and then there was a point where I stopped watching. I didn't keep up what was going on. Things like that until like it hit one of the big pay-per-views, like I want to say like SummerSlam or something like that, where I just took a break because it was just like I felt like all I was doing was watching and getting mad. So it was like I was done. And the other issue is there was a long period of time for about a year and a half where the only weekly show I watched was NXT. Like I would occasionally tune into the pay-per-views. Some of them I missed, but like mostly the pay-per-views for the main roster, but it was just NXT until Vince really did really get into that, and it was NXT 2.0, and I gave it a couple months, and then I was like, I'm not enjoying it anymore. So I completely stopped. Vince stepped down. Of course, that was a big deal, but it was also near pay-per-view time, and then really seeing what Triple H did, and I watched, but then I started enjoying it again, for the most part. Mm-hmm. So with him returning, it's like, well, now it's back to me going like, I don't like this, I don't like this, like this is annoying, and it's just, I don't want to fall into that. That's where it's just like, you know what? I just need to go on a break again and just like stay away. Yeah, but it is annoying when he's like, you can see. I think that's my issue. It's like it was like almost unanimous. The only person who didn't see it as better was Vince. but like everybody else was like better, like it's better. And then he was just like, well, I'm gonna come back, like this is mine, you ain't gonna forget me. It's just this huge fear, which I mean at the same time it's like he hasn't done anything else, so it's like we just told him to just stop, and he like walked away and just didn't have anything else to do, so he came back.
So one of the things that about wrestling for me, I remember I got really, really passionate and attached to it at one point, and I was like, I needed to figure out a way to enjoy this. And really early on, I was really, really pondering about it one day. I was like, how do I make it better for me? And so one day I just decided I'm not going to watch everything. I'm going to watch the best of, according to the community and a couple trusted sources. And then I would watch just that. And I took it a step further and I started to edit videos down way before YouTube. It's actually how I got a little bit of experience for YouTube, honestly. But it was like really early on. This is like 14, 15 time. And I started doing that. And for me, it made wrestling way better. But only the problem with it at that point was that it was too long, because it was literally like one show a week of just like the best of everything. And it was like all the shows. Because I was like, it's too many shows. I can't watch everything all week. How do I watch it? And it was like everything. And ironically enough, like for everybody else, UFC and WWE somehow being together in a way is probably new to them. For me, technically is not. Technically, yeah. I did that for a very long time. And it was like only I saw it. Sometimes you saw it. Nobody else saw it. It was like literally that. I did that though. I put UFC and WWE together. And not only that, I actually put boxing in there as well. Of just like content that came out. And surprisingly enough, it went from being bad to like extremely good, because it was just a collection of the best stuff, and all I had to do was watch it a couple days late. And it didn't stop my enjoyment, because honestly, if you're in the wrestling community of any kind, for some reason, you can pretty much book the show before it happens. You know everything that's going to happen. You know all the backstage stuff that's going to happen. So just watching it a couple days later just didn't change too much for me. And then it was a phenomenal thing. So that's how I got away around it. It just at some point, wrestling in general was it just came to be just too much content that you had to consume, too much stuff that you had to like download, I guess.
Those days of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, Impact Wrestling.
Man, 205 Live and Lucha Underground in the same week at one point. And then for me, it was also still not only UFC, but Bellator and a boxing match if it happened. I went and found everything. And so, like, yeah. So I actually am excited to do that again, because I wanted to do it if, like, I wanted to scrap everything that I had in the past to catch right up. And, like, because I felt like it could have been, like, a great, quote-unquote, reset. If they added UFC and WWE together in some way, but it sounded like then the news came out that Vince took over. And I was like, well, maybe it might not happen that way, but
yeah, just to clarify too, he already, because the dude in charge of Endeavor already said, it was more of just like they just saw it as a good merger of like what's considered combat sport.
Yeah,
because even though wrestling is choreographed, it's still a combat sport. Yeah, so it was basically him trying to just put all the combat sports under one umbrella.
Yeah,
was the idea. That was really it. But he even straight up said, he was like, everybody knows wrestling is choreographed, but was like, but these guys have to go, like, he gave him props. He was like, they have to go like many times throughout the week, conditioning, doing all this stuff, like really going crazy. You can say it's choreographed all you want, but like they're still really putting it out there. But then UFC is a whole different type of competition where it's like real fights, real this, blah blah blah. But the way he was talking was almost like saying, like, no, we're not going to have any crossover because a UFC fighter is not a wrestler and a wrestler is not a UFC fighter. It was kind of the way he was saying it. It was like they're just under the same umbrella, but WWE is going to operate as they've been doing. We just, now it's, we get some money from it, basically.
What I actually do like, there's one idea I can come up and then we can just end this. I would like to see, now I wouldn't really want to see this if it costs more to the consumer, but I think it'll be cool if we strip WWE's content from Peacock and move it over to UFC's Fight Pass and make that all one thing. Because UFC still has Fight Pass, which is practically what WWE Network was, but for the UFC. And it would probably be beneficial to a certain audience to have that all in one. And it would make more sense content-wise to have that all in one as a sports thing. And it would probably look really cool if they could rebrand a certain area of it and reintroduce it to the public as WWE Fight Pass. It would sound better and it would sound cool. And then at the same time, it's like you got that in there. And then when you're inside of it, now you have certain UFC events in there and WWE events in there. And you can watch whatever. Like, that would be awesome. But if I remember correctly, Fight Pass by default cost more than what I believe WWE under Peacock costs. So if it costs more, probably not, but it would be greater content for the consumer unless they want Peacock stuff. Who knows? But
yeah, the thing is that some of them might want Peacock stuff. Like, I haven't hated some of the Peacock stuff, like some of the movies I get to see. Mm-hmm. However, it would also be a third move for keeping up with WWE stuff. As much as I like the free stuff that comes from Peacock and the $5 less, I still prefer the WWE Network. Yeah. Like, it all just being there. It would probably be better under a combat, just like sport thing.
Yeah, because I think they also have rights to a lot of, like how WWE at one point was putting a lot of other wrestling shows on there that was like indie stuff on the network. Like UFC did the same thing for a lot of those fighting sports that were just not as big as UFC. They were putting their content on there. So like you would have really had like extreme sports like thing there. It might be a little jarring to people because it's like there's a whole lot of one type of content and a whole like a lot of another type of content, and you might like one over the other, but it's just like you would have a lot.
Well, I think that would be cool. I just don't want to pay more.
Yeah, but you probably would have to pay more though. That's the only thing, because by default you pay more for Fight Pass if I remember correctly. So yeah. But yeah, man, we could end it. We did go into overtime almost. I think the Ratchet and Clank stuff looks like it's about to end from what I could see. Yeah, man, Vince is back. Wrestling is back. Big year for wrestling, big year for gaming. More content from me coming up. Big video of a lot of different games I'm going to show off. The next video is going to be for the people, strictly for the people. And then afterwards, you'll see more like content where I'm just giving my thoughts on stuff. But the next one's going to be really cool. I think it's going to come out either Monday or Tuesday. Really cool. It's a little fast paced. I got to work on my pacing for it, but it's going to be cool. A lot of cool games there. A ton of cool new games. A lot of stuff that a lot of people probably looked over. So yeah, that's all I got for you here. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day, people. Enjoy what's about to be the summer in so soon. We're in the like springtime now, but it's about to be summer real soon. So enjoy it, and I will catch y'all on the next episode and on the next set of videos. Peace.